at the Midwest LSA Expo on the second day. Another beautiful day they've had here. The sun's starting to set. Some lovely air aloft, and we just got done flying the Lightning LS1 from Arion Aircraft. Now, to put this airplane in perspective among the whole fleet of LSA aircraft, this is not a luxury airplane, although it looks like it. It's beautifully smooth and it scoots through the air, but the reason why I say it's not a luxury airplane is because it's not priced like it. This has we won't talk about prices here, but it's a little over $100,000, and that is for a very complete airplane, fully built, ready to go, and ready to fly. As I flew it earlier, everything about it I would earmark as smooth. The finish work of the airplane, the paint job, the wing is just a slick, I can hardly stay seated on the surface, it's so smooth. The engine, a 6-cylinder Jabiru 3300 producing 120 horsepower, runs like a sewing machine. I can't speak to the long-term maintenance on it because I don't have that experience. I suspect they're pretty good that way too, and they're well supported in the US. But as far as the operation, I can say this is a very smooth running engine, as good as anything we've got anywhere in aviation. They're using a 2-blade prop on it, which is a little different, but it sure does scoot down the highways in the sky. We were seeing on our fast pass here, albeit with a little bit of a dive, we saw 126 knots. Up at low altitude, 3,000 feet, but at near full power, we're seeing right at 120 knots, and that's max continuous power. At altitude, of course, with true airspeed, you could see even higher numbers, and I'm sure you would. When we slowed her down, we actually saw the stall brake, which was very gentle. We did a stall with full flaps, landing configuration, if you will, and with full flaps, the nose, it kind of bobbed down. It didn't really have any great brake at all. This was a gentle stall. I'm sure you could make it break if you did an aggressive one. And the wings never showed any tendency to want to drop on either side. So some really good qualities about the airplane. Therefore, 45 miles an hour, 42 knots, 42 knots slow speed, 120 knots top speed. But there's even more than that. You can build this airplane as an experimental amateur built, and they have about 150 out that they've sold, of which 120 or so are flying, a completion rate they were proud of at between 60 and 70%. I don't have the exact number, and that'll change, but a high completion rate compared to industry standards. So that's a credit in their favor. Some of those are not LSA compliant. That is, they could not be flown by a sport pilot because perhaps they put a bigger engine on it or done other things. And when they do, and there'll be a bigger engine version of this coming for experimental amateur builders, that'll probably do a much faster speed like 170. The airframe is capable of that. The story behind the airplane is kind of interesting though. Some people look at this and go, this looks familiar, and it does, because a lot of airplanes that have this basic construction have this basic shape. As Mark just told us, the Lancer was its father, and the Spanish Esquale, or Esquale, was its mother. And that's true, that's the heritage of these designs perhaps, and in fact the group that builds this airplane was once an importer of the Spanish Esquale airplane. But there were a number of things about it that they didn't care for and wanted to change, and around a fireplace in Wisconsin, while eating some bratwurst and drinking some local brew, they decided that they could do better, and they set about doing it. The main man behind this design is a man named Nick Otterback. He's not here today, but that's why we flew with Mark, or we'd have had Nick in the air with us. Nick is sort of the head of the design team, but there was a lot of people contributing to it. And I have to say, for an all-American design, maybe it had some foreign inspiration, but it's an all-American design, all-American components. Everything about the airplane is American-made, except for the engine, which is the Australian engine that they've used for a long time. Sitting in the Lightning LS1, just looking around inside here, you can see with the camera what I'm looking at toward the camera. Beautifully done interior. Even the letter face is pretty. The way the center panel is located, a little dimpling down here in the center, all carpeted to put your phone or whatever you got. The panel is nicely done. It's a really handsome airplane. It's got a lot of luggage area back here. I can't even reach the back, as you can see as I extend my arm. Plenty of room to get back there. Now, all low wings share some of the characteristics I'm going to talk about now, but let's talk about, since I was talking about loading things in the back, you've got to kind of get in the airplane to load stuff in the back. And you got to maybe be on your knees a little bit to get stuff back in there. Maybe not as convenient as some other airplanes for that reason. And getting in the airplane. I'm in here and this is a comfortable seat. I could sit in this seat for a long time. The seat cushion comes up a long way here and is fully supporting my leg all the way out to the knee. That is just excellent. You could be in this airplane for a long time. It's comfortable. You've got enough leg room down in here. I can move my legs around and stretch a little bit. I've got an adjustable rudder pedal position. The seats do not move. So if you needed to be higher or lower, you'd have to do the seat cushion trick or build it that way with seat cushions that fit your body. But there are adjustable rudder pedals in it. The ones that I flew in this airplane, they were already in the right spot, so I didn't do it, but there's just a little knob down here. I've got my hand on it right now. It's not that much of a reach. I don't think the camera can see it there. Lovely airplane. Joystick is in a very comfortable place. You can see I've got an armrest for my left arm, and if I was flying in the right seat or the left seat where you would normally fly, then you would probably have your hand there and your joystick here, and it'd be very, very comfortable. Center throttle, so there's not throttles on both sides or anything. But the entry to the airplane, again, all low wings share this. You got to climb up on the wing, you got to stand on the seat, and you got to lower yourself down in. There are a handful of low-winged airplanes that allow you to stand on the floor. This is not one of them. So if you're a little less flexible than some of the rest of us, getting in and out of the LS1 might have some challenges for you. That'll be a personal thing you'll need to evaluate. This is also kind of a sort of a sexy sports car airplane. It's just gorgeous and smooth and fast, and there's a lot to love about it. But I think I'd be a little bit hesitant about landing it on a grass runway unless it was a nice smooth runway that I knew ahead of time was going to be the right recipient for a landing. Prop clearance, as we looked, is about a foot off the ground. That's enough. The gear is sturdy enough, but probably landing on grass is no big deal for the factory guys that know the airplane well. I think I'd stick to pavement with it. And I'd do that with a lot of other airplanes too. So that's not really a statement about the Arion Lightning, but it's something to consider. If you're an off-road guy, a bush flying enthusiast, this probably isn't your airplane. There's probably other choices that are better for you. But if you want to get up and go, this is a great example. If a low wing's got some negatives, it's got some positives too. One of them is fueling them is just fall off a chair easy. Fuel tanks on both wings, each side holding 15 gallons, so you got 30 gallons of fuel on board. I'm guessing, I don't know the exact burn rate of the Jabiru 3300, but I'm guessing it's between 5 and 6 gallons an hour, so that's easily 5 hours worth of flying in the aircraft. And now you think about the Jabiru engine, most of the light sport aircraft are powered by Rotax, some by Continental, and there's a handful of other Continental type derivative engines that are out there. But the Jabiru's got a fair chunk, maybe an eighth to a sixth or something like that of the fleet. And there are some people that love them and there are some people that don't. Those that love them are probably people that are used to Continental and Lycoming because the RPMs are similar, the engine speed. We do the mag checks at 1800 RPM, max RPM, max continuous power is about 2800. Those numbers are common to those that fly Continental or Lycoming. And mag checks, or everything about it is typical for those kind of pilots that like that kind of thing. And as I said, it's a very smooth running engine. The Australian engine has, I think, about 5,000 units in the field. That's the engine only, not the airplane. There's also a Jabiru airplane. And that's a lot of experience out there, and they have good US support. So I'm going to lower the canopy, and then you won't hear me for a little bit, but I want to show you what it looks like while you're close up with the camera. So I'm just reaching up here, pulling it down. And that's what I had to do when we attached some cameras up on the windscreen. Sitting still, it was a warm day, pulling that down without the engine running, in no time at all, I'm starting to sweat in here. It's a greenhouse. It's got glorious upward visibility, but upward visibility, well, there's a lot of blue sky up there. Downward visibility is good in front of the wing, but obviously the wing right outside the cockpit is going to block downward visibility to some extent. So again, for those that like high wing versus low wing, well, if you're a high wing guy, obviously this isn't your airplane. For many others, this is going to be an airplane of choice. So it got warm in here, but that's with no engine running. You're not going to sit in the airplane with no engine running for very long. As soon as we started the engine, the blast of air came in good. On each side of the cockpit here, on the outside edges, you can see the inlets that the camera just showed you, and there's a great big old inlet, and as soon as the prop started running, air started blowing on us, so it got much more comfortable. aloft, plenty of air coming in the cabin. So the issue is not anything more than the canopy. And so that's a lot of information about the Arion aircraft Lightning LS1, available as an SLSA, an ELSA, or experimental amateur built. Have it whichever way you want. We told you the price is very reasonable on it. We gave you a lot of information, talked a little bit about performance. So you can get a lot more information directly from the company on their website at flylightning.net. I've got information, other videos, lots of information about other aircraft. All that's available on buydanjohnson.com or bydanjohnson.com. Thanks a lot for joining us here at the Midwest LSA Expo.